Alright, it's just impressive how every single BTS member so far has done Weverse Live immediately after they got discharged from the military. I mean, we have seen some, celebrities, male celebrities doing like V Live after they get discharged, but like the entire group, that's amazing. Every single member. Of course, we still have Suga doing his service, but he doesn't wear uniform, right? And he's technically not within a military base. And I think this Weverse Live that Jimin and Jungkook just did might be probably become the last Weverse Live where we will see the members in uniform. Of course, they will still have to do the annual reserve forces mandatory service, like 2 to 3 days a year, but I don't think they're gonna make a big fuss about it. So from now on, it will be the civilian clothes. So let's talk about the Weverse Live for these guys. My overall impression, it was hilarious, it was cute, adorable, and funny. And what are some of the things that they mentioned a lot? They talked about their looks a lot, how they have become chubby, and they talked a lot about their military lives. They ate a lot, and I truly loved that. I really missed 방탄 먹방, right? Of course, yesterday during RM and Jim V Weverse, V passionately ate the ramen noodle or bibimbap, but then he was kind of quiet about it, right? But then Jungkook went all in, Jimin as well, and they explicitly said they were hungry during the live, so I really like that. Yeah, BTS mukbang is something else. All right, so let's talk about it. Because they mentioned a lot of military references. Once again, I brought some context so you could understand better. Okay, so let's start here. In the very beginning, they were not used to the Weverse Live setting. And then they were kind of chaotic about how to greet the fans. They said they had two versions of greetings. Like 둘 셋 방탄. These guys are buddies. You realize they spent the past year and a half like every day, almost every minute, every second. Of course, there were some days where they would be on leave and vacation and spend time separately. But other than those, they spent like every minute with each other. So they gotten even closer to each other. I just realized. The giggles were the best parts from the live. They were very awkward. 방탄소년단입니다. Okay. We are BTS.
Hello, we are BTS. 막 이런 거 했었죠. 그렇죠?
Okay, so it sounds like they made plans about how they would greet the fans during the Weverse Live in the beginning.
맞아요, 여러분. 저희 잘 다녀왔습니다. 네.
Jimin said, "That's right, everyone. We're back safely." And the first thing he mentioned was about his looks, their looks and their weight. He said, "As you can see, first and foremost, I want to tell you, we tried hard to manage our weight, but it didn't quite work out. But soon, it won't take long." He said. Let me explain that more in a bit. And yes, they talked about their weights and their looks a lot during the Weverse Live. And I know what the fans would say, that they just look good as they are. And I don't disagree, but after all, they are K-pop idols. The industry where looks are quite significant. And I would say the industry as a whole became better in terms of like how in the past celebrities were even more obsessive with like losing weight and looks and everything. Nowadays, people have realized that if you have gained some weight, you look healthier and even better. but BTS members, being the K-pop idols, they would like to look more handsome and look sharper before the cameras. So you will hear them talking about them managing their weight a lot in this live. So that's the first thing that Jimin mentioned.
그러고 계시니까 굉장히 많이 와주셨어요. 이 방탄
And the second thing he mentioned was safety. Okay, he said, "You're probably watching outside, and many of you came outside the company building. It's quite hot outside, and the alley is very narrow. If you can't hear us well, it will be best for everyone if you head home without waiting. Thank you so much for waiting, but for safety reasons, it's better if you go home." So they have emphasized that. In fact, right after the Weverse Live, he wrote a separate Weverse post about it. And I reposted it on X and explained that it's worth remembering that the Itaewon crowd crush also happened in Yongsan 3 years ago. This area carries, and HYBE building is in Yongsan. This area carries heavy memories for many Koreans, so we're still learning how to be more careful in public spaces as a nation. And it was only, 3 years ago, 2022, October 29th. And I still remember vividly how the next morning when I learned about the news on October 30th, the feelings that I felt, terrified. I was literally terrified. So hopefully armies listened to these members' concerns about their safety. So that's exactly why he mentioned that. Okay, and then the next thing he mentioned.
1년 반이라는 시간이 짧은 시간은 아니지만
Yeah, so we have been discharged, and they were saying each other, 고생하셨습니다. You worked hard. Jimin said, "We have so much to say. I thought it would be easy to talk, but first of all, we're very shy, both with the cameras and with armies. And we met the reporters earlier, and my legs were shaky, my hands were trembling like earthquakes. I don't even remember what I said. We went there having prepared what to say, but I don't remember a single thing. My brain just froze. A year and a half is by no means a short time." And I saw on social media how Jimin was looking very nervous,
오늘 6월
having deep
10일에
breaths.
민망한데요. 그리고 지금
Yeah. So that just showed how trembling he was. And yeah, he said, "A year and a half is by no means a short time. I really felt the preciousness of time. It was a valuable experience. And the first thing we wanted to convey was thank you so much for waiting. It was quite a long time, and with COVID, the time we couldn't meet was long. And as each member enlisted, the time we couldn't be together was quite long." And then they said, it kind of feels like a concluding remark.
멤버들이 길어서 또 마무리 멘트가 있는데
Jimin saying that after everything he just said. That was kind of funny. And then here, Jungkook said, "We're hungry and there's a lot of food, so let's talk while we eat."
일단 저희가 배가 좀 고파서
배가 고파서.
가볍게 또 토크를
We need to get over the shyness by eating.
한입 먹으면은 또 왜 조금 사실
Let's have a bite.
배고파요.
That was cute. 조금 사실 배고파요. In fact, to be honest, we're hungry.
아까도 라이브 키기 전에 지민이 형이 빨리 먹고 싶어요.
Before they went on live, Jimin said he wants to eat badly.
음식이
But then this was funny.
그 정도에 그러네요.
So he was looking at the screen and he said, "We're looking at our faces on screen and it makes us wonder if we should even eat." Being very self-conscious. He said it again. "I can see my face on screen too,
양해를 부탁드립니다.
and I look pretty puffy, but please bear with us just for today." "We're so hungry. Should we take a bite?" He said, and then they started eating. And yeah, again, I missed the Pangtan mukbang so bad. And I loved how these two guys are very serious and earnest about eating. It's so funny. And then they did a toast, pizza toast, by saying congratulations on your discharge. You've worked hard. This was one of the highlights for me. Them saying it's delicious. 맛있네요.
맛있네요. 음미를 좀 해야 돼.
I need to savor it a bit. Alright. And then Jimin mentions this again. Actually, before we came out today, we wanted to reduce swelling, so we even went for a run starting at 5 a.m., which is what our V did yesterday, right? But that wasn't the important thing. It seems like it gets harder to lose weight as you get older. You might find it hard to believe, but I've been on a diet for quite a while, and I gained 10 kilos when I went in, Jimin said. And I've actually lost quite a lot, haven't I? But I think I should try harder. 더 분발합시다. And this is hilarious when he said,
자꾸 변명만 하네.
자꾸 변명만 하네요. I keep making excuses.
더럽게 말이죠. 아주 구차하게 변명만 하고 있습니다.
I keep making excuses, just dirty, pathetic excuses. And then this was the highlight.
보여야죠.
행동으로 보여야죠. We have to show it through action, right? And then immediately after he said that, without even missing a beat, he went in and immediately started eating the pizza. That was hilarious. After that, they said, I feel bewildered, Jungkook said, and honestly, it doesn't feel real yet. What should we talk about? Like suddenly telling all these military stories? It feels a bit off after not seeing armies for so long. But if you think about it, Jimin said, since we're the only ones who enlisted together, 동반입대, maybe it will be good to tell some stories. But then there are too many stories. So this live podcast will be kind of brief. And Jimin pointed out that we need to do more live broadcasts. I even thought we should need 10 episodes to tell all these military stories. Since we enlisted together, there are just so many things to talk about. And then Jungkook pointed out, I wanted to talk about this. While we were in the military to celebrate our discharge, there were many armies who supported us, like with the bus project and other events. Many soldiers also drank coffee because of it. So I wanted to say thank you. So this was how many reporters and journalists were there during the event this morning. So no wonder why Jimin was trembling. And yeah, so both armies did coffee truck events for both Jungkook and Jimin, so that journalists and reporters could have free coffees, and even the servicemen in the area, Yeoncheon area. So Jungkook wanted to convey his gratitude. He said, I wanted to say thank you during the event, but I was in front of the reporters. My mind just went blank. So that's what he said. For a year and a half, there was nothing to show. So thank you for waiting. I hope the day comes soon when we can prepare and repay you. 보답을 할 수 있는 날이 얼른 준비해서 보답을 할 수 있는 날이 왔으면 좋겠네요. Yeah. So that was that. What else?
날이 왔으면 좋겠네요.
맞죠? 이게 하나 먹었는데 이러면
Oh, Jimin just got something stuck in his teeth. So he went outside the frame and came back. Alright, the next thing he mentioned,
일단 뭐 간단하게 얘기하자면은
talking about the military life. This was pretty interesting. Anyway, to put it simply, I had a lot of worries when I enlisted, Jimin said. But Jungkook, on the other hand, had no worries back then, he said. When I enlisted at the training center, I was anxious. Jungkook was fine. When we endured 5 weeks at the training center, wait, Jungkook was fine. Sorry. So at the training center, When we endured 5 weeks at the training center, I suffered every single day. Jimin suffered every single day during the basic training days. And every time, Jungkook gave me a lot of strength by saying, 형, a day has already passed. It's already 2 days. Isn't time fast?
그래서 제가 정국이한테 정국 벌써 하루가 지났네.
Oh, okay. So it was here.
형 벌써 하루나 지나갔네.
That's what Jungkook said to Jimin.
힘을 되게 많이 줬었어요.
Jungkook gave me a lot of strength
하루나 지나갔네.
by saying, 형, a day has already passed. It's already 2 days. Isn't time flying past? Trying to comfort him. But then, as soon as
너무 빠르지 않아?
we got assigned to our unit, he said, it completely reversed. Jungkook couldn't adapt well, he confessed. So from then on, I was like, he was the one who said,
정국이한테 정국 벌써 하루가 지났네.
Jungkook, a day has already passed, which is exactly what Jungkook said during the basic training days. So that reminded me how, the nature of training, the nature of the situation and environment is different during the basic training center and at the units that you're assigned to. And in fact, I came across this online post asking people about their experiences. Training camp versus permanent unit, which was tougher for you? Training camp is your first dive into military life, so it's mentally draining, and the hardcore training wipes you out physically. Still, since everyone's a fellow recruit and there are no seniors, it's got some fun moments. And this is where Jungkook thrived. In fact, from my own experiences, as long as you're physically strong and you endure, and especially if you're loud, whenever you have to yell and scream, if you're loud, you would perform very well during the training camp. Because when the leaders call you, you have to say your own name, saying that trainee 전정국, something like that. 훈련병 전정국. On the other hand, the permanent unit is physically easier than training camp, but when you start as a fresh private, everyone is above you. There's a ton to memorize, you're constantly watching your step, and the mental stress is intense. And that's where you have to constantly walk on eggshells, right? But once you hit corporal, it gets chill and you can relax. And permanent unit is where Jimin thrived, and Jungkook didn't adapt well, according to them. So the writer of this post asked people, so training camp or permanent units, which one was harder for you? So that was a pretty interesting perspective when I heard that from Jimin. And Jimin added, and we really relied on each other a lot. Compared to what we worried about, everyone we met in the military was good. The officers treated us well, and I thought the senior-junior relationship would be sensitive, but everyone did their job well, and there was a lot to learn. So I think we had a good time. We learned a lot without realizing it. Many of you might think it was meaningless, but we learned a lot, studied a lot, and felt the immense efforts of the soldiers. Even at this moment, we know how so many soldiers, how much they are struggling. And this is something that Jimin said at the end of their press session earlier today, right? He asked the Korean people to at least be mindful of, the efforts that the servicemen are paying every day. So he said, 고생 많으십니다. You guys are working so hard. In fact, today was also a training day, so they woke up at 4 a.m., did shooting, and since they're artillery, they came back after artillery firing. He said, I hope they can be discharged without getting hurt. And my guess is that since these guys, today's their discharge date, they were exempt from the training, but he's still concerned about the guys that they left behind at the unit. So they said, we're grateful to the friends who stayed behind and saw us off. And then Jimin commented on 행복원님. Is it here? Oh, wait. Okay. So here he mentioned briefly about 행복원님. which is what we also mentioned yesterday during the live. And I thought it would be just a one-off remark, so I forgot to explain it. But 행복원 is like administrative supply officer or quartermaster in military. And V said that he learned a lot from his quartermaster in his base. And Jimin commented that we can make a 3-part series about the quartermaster. Ha ha ha. And it's a non-commissioned officer NCO role responsible for administration and logistics at the company level or above, typically held by the most senior NCO, often a master sergeant. Commonly called 행보관, some units refer to the role as simply 보급관. In certain units, the role may be split into 2 positions, administrative officer and supply officer. Some officers focus heavily on unit beautification, creating extra work like excessive cleaning or landscaping, which can burden subordinates. This stems from NCO's specialization in internal unit management, but tasks like groundskeeping are often more about ceremonial appearances to impress superiors than core duties. Conversely, officers who prioritize essential tasks are seen as diligently fulfilling their role, balancing soldiers' welfare with military responsibilities, even if it means tough work for the troops. So there are all kinds of funny stories about 행보관, and I guess Jimin has his own stories to tell as well. But in this Weverse live, he didn't tell. But yeah, I'm guessing that they have some experiences, funny experiences with their own 행보관 or quartermaster. And once again, he said there are just so many stories to tell. Barrack stories, training stories, stories with officers, training camp stories, just too many.
저 훈련 썰도 있고.
Yeah. Jimin said he wanted to eat a hamburger, but he said he will eat it later because in this live, he wants to show a human side of him because until today, he lived too raw. There were a lot of moments of silence. Like here, it was a good 10-second silence. And Jungkook said, I think this kind of silence is good sometimes.
너무 좋아하는 말이고.
And that's a saying that I love, Jimin said.
이게 요가 잘 안 나오니까 어미를 자꾸 늘리느라.
And I want to explain this part when he says something about yo. So if you have learned Korean, when you talk to someone you don't know or someone older than you, you have to use a respective tone. As civilians, we use a suffix 요 a lot. 뭐뭐 했어요? 혹시 어디 가세요? 오늘 뭐 어떻게 되세요? But as soldiers, they rarely use the suffix. Instead, they use something like 다나까, 뭐뭐 했습니다, 뭐뭐 했습니까. Okay, but it's interesting how like a few years ago they have formally set the rule saying that you guys are allowed to use the suffix yo as soldiers. But then the tradition is tradition, and still not a lot of people use that. So that's what he meant by that. Since the ending suffix yo doesn't come out well at the end of my words, I tend to drag out the endings. Then he said, 힘들었습니다, 여러분. It was a little tough, everyone. Time really didn't fly by. So I wonder how many stories that they're gonna tell us, all the military mysteries when the members get together. He said, when we were lying in the barracks saying, why does 1 week feel like a month? The people there being good and time not passing are two different things. It felt like 3 years, they said. But then added, how much must armies have waited? Jungkook chimed in, I might have waited for armies even more. They said, we talked so much. There were many nights we couldn't sleep. We thought a lot about what should we do and talked about how they should practice, what songs they should do. We talked a lot about how fun it would be when we meet the members. So that was funny. And then, just like yesterday, with RMMV during the live, they showed us the messages and letters that TXT guys wrote them, the fellow Big Hit family members. And Jimin joked by saying how Yeonjun's handwriting is terrible. he couldn't read what he wrote. It's kind of funny because my handwriting is terrible, and people give me a rough time every time they see my handwriting, but it's nothing critical. They said that Yeonjun told Jimin that he would love to, congratulations on your discharge, let's have a meal sometime, I'll be waiting, 고생하셨어요. And to Jungkook, he said, let's have drinks another day. So, and one of the TX members said, you look cooler in the military, or tougher. And then they were questioning that. I don't think so. No way. So there's like a third time they referred to their looks, right? And Jimin explained, suddenly going into military stores again. When you're among men, people are quite big, much bigger than me. And the officers are naturally very fit. So I thought I want to work out and get bigger. But I knew I shouldn't. And Jungkook asked, why not? Because of our profession, Jimin explained. We have to think about returning as BTS. But my determination about getting big was so, set that I couldn't see anything else. And Jungkook agreed. We went overboard quite a lot. And then Jimin here gave another, in his words, an excuse by talking about the food tray, military food tray. He said, the food tray is a problem. Jungkook asked, because it's too wide? Now, when you put food on it, you eat an amount you normally wouldn't eat. There are a lot of carbs, right? So this is a typical food tray that you use in the military. Korea. A plate full of rice. Carbs even go into soup, like duck, rice cakes. In this photo, it's actually dumplings. So yes, carbs. And then what you see on the left corner, top corner, like spicy Jikook, spicy pork, kimchi, and some veggies. So 5 different kinds of dish. I'm not sure if dish is the right word. And then you get milk every meal. And here you have a energy bar as dessert. And it's funny how Jimin said that food tray is a problem. And he also praised Jungkook by saying Jungkook made the food delicious. For a while, when Jungkook was very serious and passionate, the guys wouldn't go to the PX, the convenience store within the military base, and would eat a lot of the food that Jungkook cooked. But when he became a sergeant and then a master sergeant, his motivation died. And Jungkook explained, it's not that my motivation died, I had to hand over the reins. Hand over the responsibilities to his juniors. I shouldn't be the one doing it. So that's how he explained himself. But in the end, he admitted, in the end, I just tasted a little. I would just do a tasting. And at the very end, I wouldn't even taste it. So that was pretty funny. And here's a funny moment. Oh, Jungkook out of nowhere randomly paying attention to the food.
댓글.
Cakes.
댓글. 저희가 다 까먹었어요. 어떻게 하는지. 근데
They started reading comments. And then here, Jimin asked. He paid attention to how Jin had these cool backgrounds when he did a Weverse live. So he asked whether they could have that as well. And Jungkook said, we need a technical setup to do that. And Jimin was like, technical setup? So it wouldn't feel casual then because it costs a lot of money. And Jungkook said, we only need like chroma key. That's the name of the technical setup. And he jokingly said, 생각 좀 하고 사세요. Think before you say things. And Jimin joked, 이 친구가 더 건방져졌습니다. 정말 힘들었습니다, 여러분들. It was really hard, everyone. Hinting that Jungkook gave him a hard time. And then here they said 맨날.
맨날이지.
아유 형이 맨날.
형이 맨날이지. 너가 맨날이지. 맨날 literally means every day. So they're saying that you are the one who gave me a hard time every day. And they gave an example like how Jimin said, when I said let's go shower, actually it was Jungkook. So whenever I say let's go shower and I was waiting, but you were out of nowhere got dressed all of a sudden and then saying you told me let's go while I was the one waiting for you. And then Jimin said, shot back by saying that you were always lying down too. And when I would say Jungkook, let's go, this is how he would respond.
그래도 형한테
다 하고 있는
저
성격.
정국 씨 갑시다 이러면
Hey Jungkook, let's go. And while lying down, Jungkook would respond.
그래도 형한테 그건 좀 아니지 않냐.
So Jimin would say, you shouldn't talk to your hyung like that. And Jungkook would still go,
제가 말을 못했나요?
모습을 다 보셔야 돼요.
you have to see his true self, Jimin said. But then Jungkook said,
뒷모습은
true self?
말이 들어요?
Should we tell everyone
여기까지 할까요?
이것도 시작해요.
아 근데 뭐
about this?
했어요?
누가 한번 이긴 한번 봐봐요.
이게
Would you like to see who will win in the end? So that was funny.
아이고 이쁘다.
And then once again, out of nowhere, Jungkook paying attention to cakes. And Jimin said that since we haven't been active for a long time, we need to get our senses back as entertainers, he means. Because we were stopped for a year and a half. And then Jungkook said, we actually regressed. 퇴보를 했죠. So now we have to move forward. And then, like fourth time mentioning about their weight, Jungkook said, I bought a treadmill for my house. I'll do cardio in the mornings and evenings. So that's funny.
아 근데 멈춰 있고 이제.
And then here, Jimin gave us more details about their military lives. So we went into the artillery, didn't we? So this is what, this is actually 포병여단, their own base. So when it went to the artillery, we didn't know that we would go there. Commonly, you go either artillery or infantry. But to tell you a bit of a depressing story, after being at the training center, 4 days after we transferred to our units, winter training began. 혹한기. The perceived temperature was minus 20-something degrees Celsius, which is freezing. The quartermaster, 행부관님, that we just talked about, the quartermaster said it was the second coldest winter training in his 20 years of military service. So Jimin is just talking about how brutal it was right from the get-go. And then this is a sweet thing that Jungkook said.
홍보관님이 말씀하시기에 선생님 도대체 우리한테 왜
근데 그 거기 강 이름 있잖아.
River. Talk about a river. 아미강.
그거 때문에 운명인가 싶기도 했어.
So in the Yeoncheon area that they were in, there is a river called Ami, Amigang or Amicheon. So Jungkook said that because of that, I thought it was fate. If we were meant to come there, meant to come here. So that was a sweet moment. Thinking about armies all the time. And Jimin continued. We were assigned. I was assigned as a gunner. 포수. The self-propelled howitzer looked scary. It was really difficult to become friends with it. And Jungkook agreed. You never got, close to it or become friends with it, didn't you? But then said you went through a lot, meaning he really had worked really hard and went through a lot. And Jungkook admitted Jimin Hyung had a much harder time in the military than I did. And Jimin absolutely agreed. I really went through a lot. 저 정말 고생이 많았어요.
그냥 에이스.
Jimin said, for Jungkook though, flies were buzzing around Jungkook's body because he cooked a lot in the summer. When you lay down in the barracks, flies would be around his body. And Jungkook explained, there's a separate cooking uniform, and when you go up to the barracks wearing it, 1 or 2 flies always come with you. And then they continue to tell more stories. There are so many training stories, but I don't know if I should tell them all because there's some security issues. So let's organize them and reveal them in the next live broadcast. Like training content shouldn't be revealed due to security issues, they said, because we are still soldiers until today, and that's true. Until midnight, they are officially still soldiers, so they shouldn't do anything dangerous. And yeah. And then here, I think Jungkook is once again paying attention to cakes again. Oh, Jungkook the foodie. Then after that, Jimin commented, although our military service was shorter than our seniors, like back in the days when military service was longer than 2 years, I think we experienced all the, good and parts of it, all the romance of it, he said. 낭만, actually, 낭만 was a word he used, literally translated as romance, but meaning that they have gotten everything out of it, all the full experiences. We trained together outside, didn't wash for weeks, ate meals sitting on the dirt floor, and had stomach aches. And when Jimin said that, it reminded me of one of the episodes from their Disney series featuring Jimin and Jungkook, when Jimin had a stomach flu, right here, after saying that he laughed. And he even got stung by bees. His whole body was stung by ground bees, and he grabbed a beehive thinking, what is this? And that reminded me of the stories that RM told us about last night, how people in his unit, like one guy got bitten by a snake, and one guy swallowed a cactus, and one of the spines was in his throat. And I heard that the Weverse translation was so wrong with the snake part, and a lot of people believe that RM was the one bitten by a snake, but that's not it, everyone. The translation, the subtitle was wrong with that, and I think that already spread around on X. So yeah, gotta fix the mistakes. After that, Jimin explained more. There were quite a few times when I slept during training inside the self-propelled howitzer. It wasn't really clean in there, but I slept well inside, and I ate the bag meals, 비닐밥, that Jungkook made well. So here we go. That's literally translated as plastic bag meals. So it's a South Korean military. Combat rice is a meal designed for convenience during training. The preparation involving mixing the day's menu items, stuffing them into a plastic hygiene bag, and serving. Essentially, it's like bibimbap in a plastic bag, though the ingredients weren't originally intended for bibimbap. It's easy to prepare, just mix and pack, eliminating the need for precise meal planning, serving, or gathering soldiers. Distribution is simple. So Jungkook probably made these plastic meals or combat rice meals and then have them delivered to Jimin, who had to be stationed inside the tanks for the training. So that was what he talked about. And then Jimin said, Jungkook was using a huge shovel used for cooking. I tried it, but it wouldn't scoop. I wanted to help, so I applied for the cooking support program, but wow, it was so hard, Jimin said. And he was being honest about it. Before that, I had the crazy thought that being a cook might be easy, like meaning easier than what I go through. But as a gunner. But after that, I didn't apply again. So since that experience, he recognized the hardships that Jungkook went through. And also, plus, this guy, Jungkook, didn't have weekends. And it's true, as a cook, you have to serve your military servicemen on weekends and holidays as well. And still, they said, we feel refreshed, like we did everything we could. Jimin said, I put in a lot of effort, and I think I did my best in many ways. If I had done it half-heartedly, I would have felt uncomfortable. But then Jungkook chimed in by saying that 형, Jimin 형 really did his best. I didn't go that far, though. If you ask if I did my best, as I gained rank, my motivation rapidly decreased a bit. And Jimin agreed, in the beginning, your passion was excessive. And then they were talking about the officers, the peers, juniors, and seniors. And Jimin said, I became 동기화, synchronized with being a soldier, meaning he really became passionate and genuine about his military life. So I lived very raw. 날 것으로 많이 살았습니다. And then Jungkook here kind of joked by saying,
연예인 거 잊으면 안 된다고.
깡패야 깡패?
괜찮았어.
깡패 literally means
그렇게 얘기하면
gangster. And Jimin said that if you say it like that, it could be misunderstood. So maybe there were, when Jimin gained rank, maybe he gave his juniors hard time by being strict about it. But then Jungkook said, because Hyung was ace, meaning that, one of the top soldiers in our unit, so it was fine. And Jimin said, I briefly forgot about my identity. So my soldier friends would tell me, 형, you shouldn't forget that you're a celebrity.
약간 제가 연예인 거 잊으면 안 된다고.
연예인인 거 잊으면 안 된다. That was funny. Because going out for training, we were like buddies, like family, completely open and cheered each other on. But I will return to being a celebrity again. That was funny. And then after reading a comment that said that going to the military must be really hard, Jimin reiterated, most soldiers, whether they're career soldiers or officers, it's not easy. They go through a lot of hardship. I thought it would be nice if people understood that a little. Saying that one more time, which he referred to during his press remark this morning. And he was open about it by saying, to be honest, I didn't want to go to military either. Like, who would want to go? It's an obligation, so I went. But going there and doing my best to help, I truly felt that it's not an easy job. If you could just understand that a little, I think soldiers would live with pride. And I didn't know. I thought it would be good to go with Jungkook, so we enlisted together. But we didn't know that we would go to the front lines. I didn't even think about that. And I can't forget the looks in people's eyes when we first arrived. I thought they would look at us like, oh, so you guys are celebrities. 연예인이네. 너가 연예인이야? So you guys are celebrities, huh? But, in fact, everyone looked at us with pitiful eyes. 애처로운 눈빛으로. 왜 여기를 왔지? Why did these guys come here? He said. That was a really interesting point.
이유 몰랐죠. 이제 정국이와 함께한.
And then they were talking about more military details. 36 seniors and 7 peers. They were 8 to 9 years younger than us by age, and they had a lot of passion and went through a lot of hardship. And then reading more comments, Jimin saw that there were 8 million people watching, so he was surprised. Is this the number, we're seeing right now in real time? So many people are watching. How can 8 million people be watching? He wondered. A lot of people were saying, I love you as comments. And one commenter said, don't forget that you're a celebrity from now on. And Jimin said, yes, we haven't forgotten our true calling. We are diligently losing weight and managing ourselves. And we always spent time planning what we wanted to do together. We didn't waste our time meaninglessly. Although here, Jungkook said that we haven't slept for 2 days, so our conditions aren't top-notch. Jimin agreed. I couldn't sleep because they were nervous about it. One comment said, let's go on a diet together. Jimin liked the comment, but then another comment said that you don't have to lose weight. And Jimin goes something like, 그게 진심일까요? Is that really sincere? I don't trust it. It's not your true feeling.
정말 의미 없게 시간을 보내지 않았습니다.
So doing the communications with the armies.
잠이 안 오더라고요.
아니요. 저 해야지.
말하면은 뭐 훈련도 열심히 하고 했지만 뭐 여러모로
Here
건강
Jimin said, to be honest, we worked out diligently, but in many ways, I think we became healthier. But the Jungkook disagreed. I don't think I got healthier. I think I was healthier when I was outside in the society. That environment is definitely not healthy. It was a difficult environment. And Jimin said, you're right. I think I was trying to romanticize it. So yeah, that speaks volumes about how much, how hard it was, their whole military life, right? One comment asked them about the barrack environment, and they told stories. On the first day of training, only the two of us kept talking. We were like huddled together, whispering. The other kids weren't saying a word, like frozen. But when the instructor came, we would stand at attention too. We became very close with the instructor too. The company commander, battalion commander, platoon leader, they were like 2 to 3 years older than us, but they felt like older brothers or fathers. Now, training camp story. Usually it's hard to sleep well, but in the training camp, Jungkook had better mental strength, Jimin said. He slept straight. I was training number 60, Jungkook was training number 59. I slept at the end of the bed, and Jungkook was next to me. And this is what the training camp beds look like. So I slept at the end of the bed. Yeah, right. I was sleeping with my arms raised, and in my dream, I heard a lot of construction sounds, like da-da-da-da-da. So I woke up. I think this is where he talks about it.
그때 정국이었습니다. 꿈에서
꿈에서
공사를 막
dream
너무 하니까
construction sounds.
이러면서 제 팔이 너무 저려서
So I woke up, and right next to my face was Jungkook, was snorting like a drill.
드릴을 자꾸 제 귀에다
Snoring like a drill. And when I pushed his face away, Jungkook would
목에 올려서
push his face back
제가
again.
일어나서
That was a bit of a struggle, he said.
얼굴이 여기
Why did you use my arms as a pillow when you had your own pillow? And Jungkook said, I guess I wanted to rely on you. So that was a funny and touching moment. And here Jimin commented on the BTS Festa. It's almost our birthday. We didn't enlist according to a schedule, but our birthday is in 2 days. It's a Festa period. This was kind of interesting. How Jungkook touched
페스타 기간이더라고요.
his head, but then he flinched. Did you see that? And Jungkook wondered too, why are you flinching? And Jimin said,
1년 반 동안 학습이 돼가지고
it's all because of a year and a half of training.
처음 말 들었습니다.
It was really tough, he said.
맞아. 페스타 페스타 지금 하고 있으니까.
That was funny.
또 진영이랑 호비
Talking about the festa. Anyway, it's the festa period. Jin Hyung and Hobi Hyung worked incredibly hard while we were gone. And then they were saying those guys were celebrities, aren't they? Jin Hyung and Hobi Hyung. And they said, I don't think we're ready to be there yet. And he agreed. We are lacking, very lacking, aren't we? But Taehyung, on the other hand, has completely returned to his shape, hasn't he? And Jungkook agreed. How did he lose weight so fast? And then they said, I think Namjoon Hyung, it seems like he'll be fine with just a little more. I think it's just the three of us who need to do it, being on diet, along with Namjoon Hyung. So that was funny. And then Jimin talked about the behind the scenes stories. Around the time we were surgeons, we all gathered and had some drinks. I thought at the time that Taehyung was going to retire from the K-pop industry because his weight, his body, it got so huge. But then he returned to his original state. His tough, his simply amazing. And Jungkook wondered, what should he do? Should we get a solution or something? So that was funny. Showing us the photos that they took. I think they already been to the Festa exhibition center because he said that these were taken at the Festa photo booth. Yep. So, and here they're about to wrap up.
보통 사람이 그렇죠. 이 뇌라는 게.
Jungkook said he really wanted to do a live broadcast, and he thought about like what he's going to talk about when he turns on the live. But then now that I'm talking, my mind is blank, Jungkook said. And also, I'm the type of person who, if I don't wash or sleep, my thought process slows down. But I'm not in a bad mood at all. And he said that he really wanted to do this live. And Jimin chimed in by saying that we'll come back again. So today we just wanted to briefly let you know that we have returned safely. And now, this was a touching moment. 이제 저희가 사라질 일이 없습니다.
군 기간 동안 이게 제작을 할 수가 없고 뭐 오늘은 가볍게 여러분들한테 저희 잘 복귀했고 앞으로 뭐 이제는 저희가 사라질 일이 없습니다.
So now we won't disappear. From now on, there won't be a case where we will disappear. We will consistently continue our activities, and we need to make good music quickly now. We couldn't produce during our merit period.
활동을 보여드릴 거고 이 기간 동안 이게 제작을 할 수가 없는 게 없었어요.
Because when we were on leave, there was nothing that we could do but practice. But from now on, he said,
머리를 그냥 열심히 그냥
0부터 해야 돼요.
0부터 해야 돼요. Jungkook said, we have to start from scratch, start from zero. And Jimin said,
머리를 그냥 냅다 그냥 꽂고
어디 꽂아요?
책상이나 뭐 어디든 뭐 화면이나 뭐 꽂으면 해야죠. 일해야죠. 일해야 합니다. 우리는.
맞습니다.
we have to focus and work. We have to pull ourselves together and just work, he said.
그냥 정신 차리고 그냥 일만 해야 됩니다.
Can you feel my
됐습니다.
determination, he said.
제 의지가 느껴지십니까?
That was cute.
네, 아무튼
So yeah. At the end, Jimin once again commented on how he was so nervous.
이 아직은 아니죠. 오늘까지는 저희 분위기고
We're soldiers until today. We're not celebrities until we lose weight. Seeing myself nervous in front of the reporters, my legs were just shaking so much. I was trembling so much, weren't I? I have to adapt diligently. And then he said, he wondered, how do all these celebrities do it? They're amazing. You know, while I was in the military, I looked up Jungkook's footage, like stage performances, a lot. And wow, Jungkook even himself wondered, how did I do that? Yeah. And then he commented on how they also need to grow their hair. And the final farewell messages that delivered were, Jungkook said, I think we should say our goodbyes. I don't think there's anything more to talk about if we stay longer. It will be better to see you in better condition. Jimin said, get some sleep, and then let's say goodbye. Jungkook, I missed you so much, so much. I'm so happy to see you again. I'll prepare diligently as soon as possible and show you a good side of myself quickly. Thank you so much for waiting. Jimin said, I think there will be a lot of military stories to tell once all the members gather, and they will probably come out a bit by bit. We don't necessarily have to sit down and tell them formally. To cut to the chase, thank you so much for waiting. I will do my best, my utmost best for all of you in whatever we do. There you go. So that was the end. The ending was kind of hilarious.
여기도 가라고 그냥 보내네요.
He was joking how as the decorations in the background were falling, he was saying that even these decorations are telling us to leave. And if you listen closely, you could hear the staff laughing.
요.
들어가겠습니다.
And the very last thing that Jimin said was, 진짜 못한다 우리 방송. We're really bad at broadcasting, doing live. So yeah, that was funny, adorable, and I'm really looking forward to all the military stories that these members would tell us about once they gather together. So super excited about their first group live. And one thought that I had was, once upon a time, I thought, like, these guys are BTS members after all. The most popular and the greatest K-pop act ever to this day. And I thought, if these guys go to military, the soldiers there and the military leaders, the seniors even, they would be quite conscious of who these guys are, I thought, right? So maybe they will be, I don't know, privileged. But then, based on what these guys just told us through the live, it wasn't so at all. Once again, I don't know, on the one hand, it shows us that military society in Korea is truly like equal. Everyone is on the same footing. But then there are all kinds of like scandals where the children of rich people get their own privileges. But then I thought maybe it has something to do with the reputation of individual members in Korea domestically. What I meant by reputation was like the popularity, because okay, everybody in Korea knows about BTS, how they're like world-class famous and the greatest K-pop act. But then, surprisingly, you might be surprised, many Korean people do not know the individual members, like the names or who they are as persons, individuals. So maybe that helped them be becoming treated equally, just as regular soldiers and individuals within the military bases. I don't know. That's a theory that I had, especially for guys, like Korean guys. BTS members as individuals are less recognized compared to their images and reputations and fame in the international landscape. I don't know. So maybe that has something to do with the fact that they had really tough times in the military. Who knows? But that was a thought that I had today while watching them talk about their military lives. All right, so there you go. I hope this was informative, helpful, and yes, the very last Weverse live where we would see the members in uniform. So that was meaningful. So let's continue to communicate, and when we comment, let's try to stay positive, respectful, and classy, and happy. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Whoop! D10 until the full reunion.